the makers of the third most successful and fourth most successful font editors on the market, after RoboFont and Glyphs, of course, or maybe not. We'll see. We have some, ideas and some things that we want to show you today. Reinventing digital type design. So first, as a clarification, we haven't reinvented everything quite yet. We are in the process of reinventing, and this is where we actually are sort of now in the moment where we want your feedback. So after this presentation and in the next few days, come to us, talk to us, and we also started a section on our forum which is devoted to this new development, and this is sort of the beginning of what we're doing. So, well, I'll hand over the mic to Yuri Yarmola, our vice president. Oh, you do? Oh, very good. Okay. So, Yuri.
So, a lot of people keep asking me about the new font lab, and they usually want new features in the old font lab or in old Fontographer. So this is the Fontographer, and this is not something that I'm going to show. And this is Font Lab. And we are not adding any more features to Font Lab for a few years now. So, and this is how actually type design, some type designers work. They take a piece of paper, they draw stuff, and then somehow they bring this stuff to font. And actually this is the workflow we wanted to reproduce, we wanted to recreate. We want to reinvent, not a digital type design, we want to reinvent paper on which we draw. So it's another example, very nice drawing. So we want to make the path from this to font as simple as possible.
So there's essentially a couple of new concepts that we'll be showing, and we'll be showing you of.
Well, it's going to be a very random presentation. It's going to crash a lot of times, but.
So we'll be showing you an application, which is the code name of the whole project is Victoria, and the application is called Victoria right now. It's not the final. It's not going to be called Victoria. So Font Lab is not going to go away, or Fontographer is not going to go away. It will sort of be sort of like a new version, but right now it's a platform of doing things that may or may not really actually become part of the final product. So there are some user interface things that you will see that certainly will change. But this is we're in the middle of heavy duty development, and this is what I'm going to show you now.
So what you see on the screen now, it's a paper. It's just a white thing that can be zoom out and zoom in indefinitely. It's huge. It have no limits. And this is the main user interface of the Victoria. So basically, whatever you do on paper. So what you can do, you can just paint, or you can just draw. And this drawing code is taken from Fontographer, so they're quite good. So they're very smooth. Or you can, if you want, you can bring.
You can bring some,
picture.
Any assets that you may have.
Actually, you can do quite a few nice things with this picture. Okay. And now, what I want to do is, okay. So now we went to the outline, and the quality of this outline is, well, quite okay. So the paper, it's very flexible, it's very smooth, it's very zoomable, so you can just, if you want to, you can just scroll a little bit, draw something else, or draw something else, or do whatever you want with it, or you can just edit an outline if you want. And then you can put it on the font. So how you do it? Let's open some font. I'm gonna add a couple of fonts.
In in a zip archive, because
Yeah,
basically
what is that?
part of, yeah, essentially what you, well, we're going to be shipping in the next few days, we're going to be shipping TransType 4, and this is sort of like the first finished product out of the whole Victoria project. So TransType 4 is basically what we've already done. We've done the production side, pretty much. We've done, you know, reading UFOs, VFBs, and all sorts of different formats, and then writing, you know, web fonts, TTFs, OTFs, and a bunch of the other new stuff like the color formats, which I'm going to be talking about in the afternoon. And that's sort of, and there is a user interface, and parts of that user interface are also in the Victoria project. So this is essentially
it's a TransType.
a fonts panel which is identical to the one that you'll see in TransType 4.
So I can do all the TransType things like rearrange families, drag up stuff, copy, apply effects, whatever. TransType is a part of Victoria, or, well, they are both parts of the same thing. So if I want to put this glyph into the font, I just drop the font into the workspace, and I got a frame. We call it a frame. So it's basically the thing where your font lives. You can change it to you can change it to table, so it's gonna look like it's a font table. Or you can just change it to text. You can change size, make it bigger. You can choose, actually, you can choose font right here, so you can easily compare fonts.
Well, you can actually drop two frames, right? One with...
Yeah, you can have...
Yeah. So of course, yeah, you can work with multiple fonts at the same time.
Frames, so it's going to be distributed vertically, or it's going to be left aligned, so it looks nice. You can work with it. You can scale it a bit. You can make it small, so you can preview your font like it's on the print. It's very flexible. So let's get back to this one, and we'll see if we can actually drag this thing into the font. There are two ways to do it. I can just copy it, then I activating the glyph. It zooms in. I can just paste it. It's in the glyph. It's very easy. And I can relocate it. I can transform it as I want. So I can just make a very nice accent of it.
Right.
But also, there is another thing. You cannot just copy the thing, you can clone the thing. So if I'll drag it here, and I keep it here, I can apply the same transform effects like here. But the thing is that when I edit it here, it keeps connection. And it's not a picture anymore on the right, on the B. It's a glyph of the text. So if I type multiple B's, it's here. So now it's a part of the glyph. So I just took a picture, traced it, and dropped into the glyph. It's like you do on the paper. It's a major paper. You take the stuff from the paper and you put it into the font. This is how it works. And
so
sure, we have the font window. Sorry.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is it. We do have font window. Okay.
Of course, yes, we do have a font window.
It's quite smart. We can show you two fonts at once.
Yeah, you can see the overlays. It's not super visibly on the projector, but you can see that, you know, the whole character set. You can compare them easily.
I can search for things.
You can search letter or Latin or something.
Okay, yeah. So this is now.
Yeah, this is just the contents of the code page. Or maybe it's the digit. Try that digit. Yeah. And now we have a history panel here. So basically all the searches that you've done are kind of like little subsets or little, you know, pieces. And you can have a history of whatever you browsed, and you can put them into the bookmarks, and then you basically have, you know, instead of code pages or sub-code pages or filters, you can manage them very easily. So yeah, that's the font window.
Yeah, you can do all the typical stuff with font window, copy, paste, drag it to the workspace, whatever. It's just not really interesting.
So what about outline editing?
Outline editing.
Yeah, just yeah.
Okay.
Just how.
So one of the conceptions, I better restart it because I don't want all the stuff on the paper. For now. the screen is a bit small for the thing. So I have to do a lot of rearrange. So what we really like about Victoria is a conception of zoomable UI. So when you just zoom out, you can just turn off the rulers. You see the font, how it's going to work in the book or in the publication. But if you zoom in, you see more details. So if I activate the frame, I got these frame controls. If I place your mouse on the control, it zooms at pop-up. So it's not distracting to your eye when you don't need it.
Can you maybe
You
show
can
the split?
Well, I'm not sure that it works. So I can try it. Yeah.
I think it does.
Yeah, we can try it.
Yeah. Just so you know, you can see that it's not just one. I mean, you can have multiple views on the area, obviously, not just.
Yeah, but
you don't have to be zooming in and out all the
You
time.
cannot constantly, actually. That's the problem. Okay, so for example, we have three levels of zoom. The first level, like this one, it's a preview of your form. The second one is metrics. So you see the vertical metrics, you see the horizontal metrics. You can drag them to adjust spacing or kerning, but you don't see the nodes because you don't need them in this zoom. But you can zoom in even further. Then you are in outline mode, so you can move points. You can smoothly change from one to another. But there are some predefined things. So while I'm here, I can see all my points. And some of them, well, you can just move. As you can see, we have this thing of interpolation of points. So if I move this vertical stem, the shape of the V is not being broken. And you also can see the smart guidelines, so it automatically aligns itself to the next leaf because it's the same position.
And of course, you can
select
multiple.
And these guidelines are very smooth. When I move my mouse, they are not really working. There is no snap. But if I stop for a second, it snaps. So it's not only about the zoom, it's also about the time. So we are using time to adjust how the things work. We actually had one nice experiment where you can break outlines if you move a point too fast. So if you just drag a point very fast, it will break the outline.
That was an experiment.
Yeah, it was an experiment. I don't know if you're going to implement it or not.
You can drag. Of course, you can select across multiple glyphs,
Yes.
obviously, and
Yes.
you know.
Or like this. And also you can select, I don't know.
Yeah, of course, the position control points.
And you're not only limited to rectangular selection, so you can do just like this. And then like this.
Good. What about working with because these are solid outlines, but I want to see some.
You want to see screw?
Yes, I want to see the screw.
Yeah, this is a nice tool.
Mm.
It can do this
Yeah.
simple things like this.
Yes.
Which a lot of guys know how to do. But we actually want to show you something interesting. Where's the cue?
Oh, there's it.
Okay. So you want me to do this? Right.
I can see that. And now there's an
Yeah,
actually extra node. Can you because the
Yeah, I'm gonna zoom in.
yes, there is this extra outline point. I think it's
This one?
not necessary. So if you remove this is by the way, this is actually Tim Ahrens told me that the best node removal algorithm that exists is in Photographer, and it's better than anything else. Freehand, Illustrator, FontLab Studio, and some other font editors, the number 1 and number 2. And that he said, Tim Ahrens said, the Photographer node algorithm is so that I cannot improve the results manually. So I remove the node, and the shape is the best possible without that node. So, of course, I told Yuri, well, we have Photographer, so let's do the node removal.
And I was fighting for a little because
Yes.
I wanted to improve my algorithm so it would be better. But
But
eventually I gave up, and so we have Photographer already to remove.
So there's a bunch of, there are sort of best pieces of the code completely rewritten from FontLab Studio where it is applicable, and from Photographer where it actually makes sense. So since this is all based on fractional coordinates, like in Photographer and many other, so you can scale up and down without really losing quality through rounding. The Boolean operators and these curve operations are mostly using
Yeah, speaking about Boolean operators.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this is, well, I just reversed the direction, it's not a big issue. So, well, let me start it from different brief, because this one is already damaged. So I just want to, all of people are doing remove overlap all the time, because it's like one of the things that you do. We decided that it's not really necessary to do it in a fixed way, so we proposing to have the dynamic Boolean operations. So we can do this like, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now this is the shape, which is built with two shapes that are combined using some Boolean operations. And the original shapes are still accessible and fully editable. So it's not just a fill of the outline, it's actual contour. So if I deactivate it, I'll go to this level of the shape, and then I just go to object and say decompose, it will render the outline. So now it's kind of frozen, so it's not dynamic anymore.
Okay, so what about some, you were thinking about something more complex even, because this is just a font, but and working with frames, and maybe you could show some more of the shape stuff. Because yes, shapes. I mean, this is Miriam was talking about the shape-based design for Arabic, and we've been of course sort of thinking along the same lines, and a lot of designers sort of reuse design elements across the typeface design. So we wanted to show you something about that.
Yeah, so one is nice. We took some complex font for that. So we have a Conceptual Projects, which is basically a way to save your workspace, including all the fonts and all the stuff that you have on the paper. So this is it. So this is the paper, which has 3 frames and some graphics, just for fun. So here's one thing. If you look on this font, some elements are looking similar. They're probably not exact copies here, but who knows? So first of all, I show you how to do these things. So we have this shape, and I'm just selecting a part of it, and I'm going to convert it to shape.
Something that we call, shapes, which is basically, subroutines, if you will. Maybe that's a...
No, it's not a subroutine.
Yeah, but it's a similar concept for some people who...
Take a look.
Yes.
Well, I think I need to revert it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And place it nicely.
Right.
Okay, the thing is that these shapes are still connected. And actually,
can you show that they're actually connected? No. Go back to just where you were. And show that they're connected.
Oh yeah, they are connected. Show that they are connected, yes.
Oh yes, indeed.
But actual truth is always more complicated.
Is that transatlantic flights from Europe?
Now you see, look here. You'll find that actually these 2 elements here, we're going to turn it off because it's a bit over complication. But look on the top of the F character. It's the same shape. So for Victoria, it doesn't matter how you transform the shape. It still keeps the connection. It can join it automatically, it's no problem. So if I try to do some crazy things, like I'm gonna just drag it. Oops. It's gonna make really funny things. It likes to connect. Or I can just copy it to another glyph which is not best glyph for the shape, but I still can do it. It's like likes to connect, wants to connect.
Yes, and as you can see, actually, no, well, you could show just very briefly the smooth connection, or generally just how it connects. Just if you do,
Okay.
if you do it again, show on the E. So essentially, that this is
something that you know I'd never do. Okay.
But or maybe go here. We're actually snapping.
So you can do this like sharp connection, or just no connection at the point, so it will not deform the shape. So sometimes it's useful. I don't know when it can be useful, but anyway. So with intersection, it uses the straight connection. So it connects the point, but doesn't change the shape of the form.
Yes, and then if you change this one to smooth, the top one to smooth, then you can see that it's
very funny.
Sometimes keeping continuity. Okay, but what about numbers?
And what you can do is you can build this kind of outer shape, the connected shape, from different shapes, which also can be connected. So it's a very complicated thing. Let me show you. This is something that you will not see in the final build, but this is how actual structure of the data is organized. So this one contains quite a few things. So this is called
the internal
build
tree of the structure. But one thing. What about sort of? I want to see some numbers. I want to see, because it's all visual. But I like to see how.
So we're talking about precision, right?
How thick my stems are.
How thick your stems are? Your stems are.
Well, these stems. My stems are quite.
Okay, so this is guideline. It can be local or it can be global. I think as if you double click that.
Yeah, just sort of go like in the middle, just sort of scroll it a bit more up. Yeah, so you can see that it instantly shows you measurements, and if you zoom in a bit, there's like 199 point, and if you zoom in, it actually starts showing you more details. So if it's a fractional distance, then it will.
It just shows you the point, because we cannot see that. If you zoom in, it will show you the exact value. This is conception of zoomable UI. You don't see things that you don't want to see.
Okay, so
let me show you the meter, right?
Well, okay, yeah.
No, if it works now. Okay, it works.
Oh yeah, it does work. Okay. Well, this is the last thing before we wrap up, because we're out of time. So.
No, it also can be automatic.
So these are basically many of the things that you've seen are not like complete features. Oh yeah, this is actually hints that can be turned made out of that. Yeah, these are not sort of complete features, and this is not like the complete feature set. It's basically elements that we're putting together now into, well, some parts of them are ready and you're gonna see them sooner, and some parts of that will require some more work, so you'll see them later. But as I said, come talk to us throughout the conference, and we actually started a blog.funclab.com. We'll be putting out more information as soon as we have some new things to show you. And well, thanks a lot. And if you have questions, I don't think we have time for questions, but we'll be here for the next few days, so just catch us and ask us questions about anything that is related to fonts.
Thank you.